Hello, my name is Keenan Newton, and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager for SharePoint Developers. We're going to talk a little bit about the new features for developers in Office and SharePoint 2013. For SharePoint 2013, we've made a number of significant key investments. These key investments include the creation of the new cloud app model, and where we can now create apps for both Office and SharePoint. We've also added a new store for both Office and SharePoint where consumers can go ahead and find and download apps, and where publishers of apps have a way to monetize and distribute their apps very easily. We've also added new features to the client-side object model as well as the server-side object model. We've also included a new workflow engine in SharePoint 2013. This new workflow engine allows you to define workflows via SharePoint Designer or Visual Studio and performs the workflow tasks using HTTP REST calls. In this release of SharePoint 2013, we've also went ahead and made significant enhancements to Access 2013 to allow you to build apps for SharePoint in a WYSIWYG way. This way you can define simple applications without having to necessarily go into various tools. In SharePoint 2010 with Access 2010, we had Access Services, and where data was stored as a list. Now, in Access 2013, data is stored in a SQL Server database. That database can reside within SQL Azure, or it can reside within SQL Server 2012. So when developing SharePoint 2013 and Office 2013, we had some key things that we wanted to pay attention to within the market and trends that our developers are currently doing. For instance, in today's market, Microsoft Office and SharePoint are both kind of the natural front ends to most business applications. Everybody is in Word or Excel or Outlook, and most users out there will go ahead and argue that they spend most of their lives within Outlook. Wouldn't it make sense to be able to have productivity apps, such as being able to create shipping labels, find out enriched information about a specific contact right within your Office applications? Wouldn't it also make sense to be able to send documents from SharePoint and send them to a printing service where they could be printed up for you automatically? We also know that in today's market there are over 700,000 SharePoint developers out there. 700,000. That's a significant number of SharePoint developers out there. And in today's trends, we see that HTML5 and CSS are really becoming kind of mainstream for building great user experiences for web-based solutions. In fact, 75% of all developers out there have used HTML5 at some point in time in their past. And by 2014, we predict 75% of the Fortune 1000 organizations out there will have some type of public-facing web APIs that you can leverage within your own apps. So our key principles for this release of SharePoint 2013 and Office 2013, first, is designed for the cloud. We want to make sure that when you're building applications that you can build them very easily for the cloud and on-premise. We want to make sure that development experience is consistent. So the way you build apps for on-premise is the same way you build apps in the cloud. And we also want to give developers choice in how they build applications. So if you're more familiar with other tools and technologies such as maybe PHP, Ruby on Rails, Java, you can use those tool sets that you're most comfortable with to go ahead and build apps for Office in SharePoint. Because apps for Office and SharePoint support common web standards and building solutions. So the result is a new cloud app model. And this new cloud app model allows you to create a new class of apps that will satisfy existing and new scenarios and provide new user experiences for your customers. You can leverage the tool sets that you're already familiar with. Because we embrace web standards, you can now have the choice and flexibility of using whatever technologies you want to use for developing your apps. So if you're more comfortable with Eclipse, that's fine. If you want to continue to use Visual Studio, that's fine as well. Obviously, Visual Studio will have a first-class experience with building apps for Office and SharePoint, but again, you can use whatever you're most comfortable with. And we also want to ensure that there's a flexible lifecycle for your applications. We want to make sure that it's easy for you to publish your applications to a store where your users can easily discover those apps and install them with minimal intervention. And it also gives users the ability to upgrade apps at their own leisure. So first, let's take a quick look at Office 2013 developer scenarios. Office 2013 introduces a new extensibility option for developers to create custom business solutions. Developers can build an app for Office, new to Office 2013, to enhance the experience when users are working with Office 2013 clients. Unlike previous extensibility models in Office, apps for Office are founded on web technologies, and therefore, depending on the type of app, can be used in both the Office 2013 desktop clients as well as the Office web apps. There are 3 different high-level scenarios that this new model supports. Each builds on the previous scenario. The first is the app for Office itself. This is the smallest unit of customization. Developers can build one of 3 types of apps, whether it be a task pane, a content, or mail app. These can be embedded within an Office document or within an Office template. And in the case of Outlook, apps are presented to the user based on the context of the email itself. With document templates, you can support having multiple apps within a particular document. So you can think of these as kind of like mashups. So you can have one app that's maybe a task pane app that's pulling in information, let's say from a search engine, and you can have another app that's looking at line of business information. And together, those 2 apps provide a composite solution for that particular user. For instance, maybe a financial application within Excel. Now, an app for SharePoint can contain one or more document templates, and within that document template, you can have various apps for Office inside of it. Apps for SharePoint does not mean that full trust solutions are still going away. Full trust solutions are still a very important part to SharePoint and will continue to exist for the foreseen future. The different type of scenarios that we see that full trust solutions are probably best for would be implementing custom branding and user experience within your site itself, creating custom administrative tools, creating workflows to automate business processes for like an entire site, and also doing site and list customization templates as well. However, apps for SharePoint are more focused towards end-user type of solutions. For instance, for a SharePoint hosted app, we have things like an expense calculator or a holiday request, which are relatively simple type of applications. For cloud-based apps, such as provider-hosted or auto-hosted apps, more robust type of applications like event registration management, help desk support, and product defect tracking databases would be ideal for these types of apps for SharePoint. To summarize for this module, we talked about the new features for Office in SharePoint 2013 to include the new capability of apps for Office in SharePoint.